about washing is that Ismailis are portrayed as those who do not wash before entering prayer. This is also false. Ismailis will bathe and shower before attending prayer. Those who cannot will find restrooms are built into every Ismaili center. Therefore, if you haven't washed before getting there, you can wash and then go into the prayer hall. So, it brings us the third point of the video, which was about bowing. Um, Bowing versus prostration specifically. The video mentions that, and I thank the video for this, that Ismailis will prostrate during dua. However, it also then says that Ismailis do not bow during the course of prayer. This is also false. Ismailis will prostrate, which is while they're sitting on the ground, they will bend towards the floor. This is prostration and it is always performed during dua. However, also other prayers are performed during Jamati services, those known as Salat. Salat is different from dua in that dua is the Quranic scripted prayers that you perform. Salat is the prayers outside of that. Those are usually drawn up by local and national heads of the networks, and then also things you may personally ask for yourself. So, do we bow during Salat? Yes. It can be a small head bow, or it can be a much larger and deeper bow performed by the entire body. However, it's important to note that Ismailis do follow the practices of bowing and prostrating. Now, a very interesting point is raised about facing Mecca. Do Ismailis face Mecca when they pray? Well, you tell me, do they? Many people say they don't. And if you define facing it, such as me facing you just now in this video, then people will argue that Ismailis don't do that. Because, imagine this, you're facing me directly right now. But, if 4 other people were in the room next to you, how would you guys stand so that each of you would face me directly? It would probably be difficult. One of you would probably be facing this space, and one of you would probably be facing this space, and one of you might even be off the screen and would have to turn to face me rather indirectly. This is a concept which has to do with sight and perception. Though many mosques in the Muslim world face Mecca, the people in those mosques do not, because for each of those people, maybe the middle row will face, but then other rows, which stand parallel to them, will be facing a little bit off. Ismailis understand this, and as a result, our mosques do not face Mecca most of the time. However, if you think about your sight, which is to say, if you think about you looking directly at me, but also being able to see the edges of the screen, you'll notice that your sight increases. See, I'm here, and you can see all of this. Similarly, your sight will continue to increase off the screen. You can probably see the other things in your room right now. In the same way, Mecca is eventually within your line of sight. So, though you are not facing it directly, if your sight were to continue across the globe indefinitely, you may be able to see it. It's important to note that the reason people face Mecca is to maintain unity in prayer. And unity is maintained in prayer when most people are all in the Jama'ati center together praying in the same direction in unity. Therefore, the points brought up in chapter 2, chapter of the cow, that are mentioned in this video, those reasons are met in Ismaili Tariqa. Another point that's mentioned is mentioned is praying 5 times a day. The speaker says that praying 5 times a day is related to doing homework, which, although the metaphor is really off, it does bring up a key point. Many people can do their homework in one sitting, but by doing it for longer. Ismailis also believe that by doing prayers twice during the same time in the evening, you can achieve this effect. However, does the Quran require us to pray 5 times a day? No, it does not. In chapter 24 of the Quran, you're asked to pray 2 times a day. The 2 mandatory times are at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day, when the light starts and when the light ends. This is to say, when you start your day, you should pray, and when you end your day, you should pray. And in between, though you should pray, it does not mention how many times you should. This is up to the individual. You may choose to remember God or to glorify Him. By saying so, that's to say, you may choose to say Subhanallah or Allahu Akbar or say a series of tasbihs during the day. But does it mean that at given times you should stop and start praying? No, this is not a necessary fact in Islam. It is a misconception that Muslims must pray 5 times a day. If, like the video says, you should pray at every given example given in the Quran, then Muslims should pray 24/7 because the Quran says to remember God at all times of the day. However, we don't do that because it's not practical. Similarly, another impractical point by this video is that Ismailis believe that their Imam is divine. Now, though some do believe that he does have a level of divine authority, this is merely as a form of guidance. It does not mean that we worship the Imam. In Christianity, Jesus is seen as God. In Ismailism, the Imam is not seen as God. He is merely seen as somebody who can interpret the word of God and present it to the masses. This is what someone who guides you does. They simply show you something and offer suggestions, which is why the Imam always offers guidance on our life. For example, it would not be wise to smoke. For example, you should pray during Chandrat. For example, you should donate your money towards good causes. Nobody can argue that these are noble causes. Similarly, nobody can argue that the Imam is divine or is seen as divine. The Imam is just a physical guide to help us upon Sirat al-Mustaqim. He interprets the Quran in modern terms, and the Imam himself has argued that he is not divine. So these are his own words and cannot be used against Muslims or Ismailis in general. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed my video. Thank you very much.